How y'all doing out there? This is Wild Bill here with a grain of salt. We're gonna talk some more about them false prophets and false teachers. We're not gonna let them scurry away. We're gonna, as we see things in the Word about them, we're gonna talk about them. And you know, there's a lot of people out there that just absolutely are so full of pride and arrogance and basically full of themselves, really. You know, they think that, what does it matter about false prophets? I don't believe the Old Testament anyway. I seen one feller had said that, and I'm not trying to sound like I'm belittling you, but don't you know that Jesus himself is warning you and me about false prophets and what they do and what they're capable of? And you don't, and you know, just because you're quote unquote saved, you think you are, you know, the deception can't come your way. I'm telling you, if we don't pay attention to what our master said, and I mean everything he said, we are susceptible to being duped. I was for a lot of years. I did it ignorantly, and I was duped because, for whatever reason, we'll get into that some other time, but it is possible to be so full of pride in yourself that you end up walking down the broad path with the rest of the world. And I'm telling you, you don't want to get on that broad path because it's hard to get off of it. A lot of people over there, and they're all shoving and pushing and going the same direction, and you can get hung up in all that. So be warned and beware, like the master said. I mean, he said in Matthew 7:15, he said, beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing. They come to us in sheep's clothing. That's a warning to us. And that word beware means hold your mind back from. Don't give heed to. Don't even, basically, don't even put your mind in his or her vicinity. Keep yourself from them. Don't pay attention to them. Don't give them the time of day. Don't listen to them. Treat them like the plague. Do you hear what I'm saying? Do you hear what he's saying? That's what beware means. Keep your mind, or hold your mind back from. And you know, I know I can hear the questions. How do we recognize them? You know, if they look like sheep, or they look like shepherds because they're coming to us in sheep's clothing, and we're going to talk a little more about that too. How do I recognize? We're going to talk about that. We're going to get to that. But don't pay attention to them. They're dangerous. And we know they're dangerous, number one, because he says beware of them. This is the Messiah, God himself speaking to us. 2 Peter tells us something else. He says they introduce destructive heresies, and many will follow their pernicious ways. I know all y'all have looked up pernicious by now. Pernicious is a very interesting word. It means harmful or subtle. It is something that can cause great harm or damage in a way that is not easily seen. It's subtle. An example would be a poison gas that causes illness in those that are exposed to it over a long period of time, over the course of years. That would be a pernicious gas. Beware, because these false prophets, they're not just going, especially the ones that come to us in sheep's clothing. We're not talking about the heretic or the apostate. Those are easily recognized. I mean, you got to be, you know, heresy's just twisted doctrine. And it's extreme. You know, it's like the cults that are out there. An apostate would be somebody that just totally denies the faith and everything in the Bible. They just come out and say, oh, that's a bunch of lies, all of it. And that's easy to recognize too. And those are false prophets that are out there declaring such. But we're talking about the deceiver that's hard to know who they are because they are so subtle. And it says many follow their pernicious ways. And Peter calls them natural brute beasts there in 2 Peter. He says that they are filth, spots, and scabs. He says they lure through the lust of the flesh. He says that they are beguilers of unstable souls. They're dangerous. Bad, dangerous. You know, you want to be around them, the way that they act and the things that they say. It makes you want to be, they make you want to crowd around them. You know. They're dangerous. So the first thing about them that tells us that they're dangerous is the fact that our Messiah says you need to beware of them. So take it all with a grain of salt. We're going to talk more about them though.